Today we will discuss constructivism. We have already discussed behaviorism, cognitivism, generativism, but now we will discuss constructivism. Constructivism as a general learning theory, part 1. Let's first have a recap of the theories that we have covered in a time frame. So it is easy to understand how these theories evolve over the period of decades in terms of their time frame. We see that in early 1940s and 50s, we have structuralism and behaviorism, and the typical themes that they focused on were description of language, observable performance in terms of their behavior, scientific methods used to observe their behaviorism, empiricism, surface structure and conditioning reinforcement. So these were the dominant themes of structuralism and behavioralism. Then moving on to 1960s and 1970s, we saw the school of thought evolving from rationalism, cognitive psychology. They focused on generative linguistics, acquisition and innateness of language, concept of interlanguage systematicity, universal grammar, competence and deep structure. So basically first it was surface structure, which was more related to the behavior, and then from cognitive psychological point of view, the study of deep structure of language, that was the focus of rationalism and cognitive sciences. Deep structure was basically the rules and linguistic data present in the mind. Then from 1980s onward, we saw constructivism evolving and emerging as a dominant school of thought, which primarily focused on interactive discourse, socio-cultural variables, cooperative group learning, interlanguage variability, interactionist hypothesis. So here you see the focus is more on communication. The focus is more on developing a knowledge in terms of socio-cultural variables. So constructivism is now the topic of our discussion today. So people construct their own understanding and knowledge of the world through experiencing things and reflecting on those experiences. This statement forms the basis of constructivist theory, that people, they construct their own understanding of the world around them in terms of what they experience and how they reflect on these experiences to form future experiences or to form future course of action in terms of their understanding of the world around them. Constructivism theory is based on observation, which makes it a learning philosophy, and scientific study about how people learn, which also makes it a teaching philosophy. So you see that observation and teaching, learning and teaching, they form two major components of constructivist theory. Let's discuss the key features of constructivism. The first and foremost feature of constructivism is learner-centeredness. Now in this theory, the focus is on the learner. The whole information and the complete theory revolves around how learner develops his or her own understanding of the world around him and how that learning is specific to the learner's objectives and aims. Second point is environment awareness. This particular point focuses on the environment awareness, which means that simply presenting of material, giving out problems and accepting answer books or answers is not refined enough as a process of communication. Is the awareness of the complete world around him and how that awareness contributes to the development of the knowledge. That is what the constructivist theory advocates. three cornerstones for constructivist learning was proposed by Jonathan and Land. One is context, construction, and collaboration. The focus of context is providing learners with authentic activities, presenting authentic tasks that conceptualize rather than abstract information and provide real-world case-based context rather than predetermined instructional sequences. Construction is that learners should be able to construct the artifacts and sharing them with their community. Collaboration is basically to support collaborative construction of knowledge through social negotiation. Fourth feature is about acknowledging learners' differences, that learners have their own differences and learning should cater to those differences and should provide the material and information according to the differences of these learners. Integration of linguistic, psychological, and sociological paradigms. Three aspects are integrated to form constructivism. And last, not the least, is that this theory advocates the theory of communication. The focus is on communication, that how having the linguistic input, a learner effectively and appropriately communicate in a social setting. Constructivism has two branches, cognitive and social. Cognitive highlights the importance of learners constructing their own representation of reality. As in the word of Kaufman, learning is a developmental process that involves change, self-generation, and construction, each building on prior learning experiences. So it's a developmental process, and a learner basically reflects back on the past experience to move on to the further experiences. And social, in terms of its social collaboration and interaction. Key criticisms are there in terms of privilege-specific, tyranny of the majority, lack of evaluation process, but despite these criticisms, constructivism still has shown to be an important theory. So to conclude, constructivism is a learning theory found in psychology which explains how people might acquire knowledge and learn, having direct application to education. The theory suggests that humans construct knowledge and meaning from their experiences, involving the cognitive and social aspect of learning.